Smash Brothers. I love Smash Brothers, and so do tons of other people. So much so that there's a Palutena only knows amount of art and video series dedicated to all kinds of Smash elements. Rosters and movesets and stages, and for the focus of today's list, Smashified and their renders of characters and trophies in Smash 4 style. Whether likely to be in Smash Brothers or not, if a character gets enough requests, then there's a chance that Smashified will render them at some point. Thanks to them, it's become so much easier to envision what a character you want would look like in Smash. So today, I'll be paying Smashified a little tribute / request of the 20 characters that I would like to see a render of. Though I will be excluding any characters that were in previous Smash Brothers games, but not Smash 4. I don't know if this is true or not, but I've heard that Smashified is uninterested in rendering veterans, so I'll just bring in entirely new blood. Are we all set? If so, then...
Ready, go!
Ah, Ganondorf. This guy has had an interesting career as a Smash fighter. For Hylia knows what reason, maybe time constraints, I don't know, Ganondorf was made a clone of Captain Falcon in Melee. Despite, Falcon being from F-Zero and Ganondorf being the main villain of Zelda, this idea of Falcondorf is what Ganondorf has had for a moveset in Smash ever since. But by the time Smash 4 came around, he was actually a pretty good character. Want proof? Just look at all of those Ganondorf montages on YouTube. Nonetheless, there are still people out there who wish that old Dragmire would get his own moveset of things he actually does in Zelda games. I'm one of those people, but due to the fanbase it's developed, I don't think that Ganondorf's current moveset should get the Master Axe. Fortunately, there is a character who could have G-Dog's current moveset should the big bad of Hyrule get a new one, and he's an F-Zero character no less. Ladies and gentlemen, Black Shadow. He would need a new Final Smash, but F-Zero is lacking in representation anyway, and putting Black Shadow in would solve the Ganondorf moveset issue. Sure, there's already a trophy of Black Shadow in Smash Wii U, but I bet Smashified could do him one better. One type of character we've come to expect in new Smash Brothers games is an old-school retro character that we haven't seen in a while. Both the NES and the Game Boy still give us a handful of options for that kind of character. I have 2 of them on this list, as a matter of fact. The first is the titular character of the Game Boy's Mole Mania, Muddy Mole. This is one of my favorite choices for the next retro character to be in a Smash game. Not only does it give us something from the Game Boy as opposed to the usual NES characters, but he looks like he'd have a fun moveset by attacking with iron balls and digging to place traps. Why do I keep talking about why I want to see the character in Smash when this list is supposed to be about Smashified? Well, because I'm one of the many people who bases renders they want to see off of characters they want to see. Besides, Smashified has yet to incorporate a retro character into their series. I don't know if Muddy Mole would be the start of that, but he'd certainly be a welcome addition in my book. Whether on a reasonable level, or a rage level of holy shit, calm down. There are people out there who have something about the roster that disappoints them every time a new Smash Brothers game comes out. Personally, I don't let it affect my enjoyment of the game, but I will not claim to be immune to this because I'm not. And if we're specifically talking about Smash 4, then the biggest example of this for me is the lack of a Zelda newcomer. And there are 4 in particular that I tend to flock to whenever I envision playing as one. However, one of those 4 has already been Smashified, but I can still include the other 3 on this list. The first of which is Impa. My personal least favorite of the 4 Zelda newcomers I want the most, but I do hold her in a higher rank than Skull Kid or Tingle. But the question is, what design to go with? Ocarina of Time? Or maybe Skyward Sword? Perhaps Hyrule Warriors to go with the moveset inspiration. And who the low rule knows? Maybe she'll get a new design in Breath of the Wild. To take a quick peek through the lens of truth though, if Smashified does render Impa, then I'm honestly indifferent to what design they use. I do think that due to moveset inspiration, they should give her a weapon from Hyrule Warriors, whether that's the Giant Blade or the Naginata. Or both. But other than that one specific detail, I'm cool with whatever Smashified decides to go with. I am so happy that Operation Rainfall was a success. I'll admit I haven't actually played any of the games yet, but I really want to. The clear fan favorite of the three was Xenoblade Chronicles, hence why it's the one that got a sequel. Personally, I really like the idea of seeing more Xenoblade games, or even just Xeno games in general, and with the potential it has to become a franchise, I think we can afford to bring in some more Xenoblade characters at some point. By the point that is the next Smash Bros. Game, I'd say we could have a character from Xenoblade Chronicles X join Shulk on the roster. Cross could work, as Robin and Corrin proved, but I'm more interested in seeing Elma. Part of the reason for that is that as the player's avatar character, Cross just kinda seems to be along for the ride in terms of the story. At least that's what I hear. Elma seems more present in the story, possibly because she's your first leader. And if I have my information correct, your most important leader. Either way, she's definitely the fan-favorite choice of a Xenoblade X character for Smash. I like the idea too, so what the hell, let's see a render on Smashified. Before we got DLC in Smash, we had the most iconic characters of the three third-party companies. Sonic for Sega, Mega Man for Capcom, and Pac-Man for Namco. After the DLC finished its run, we got the second most iconic characters for two of those companies. Ryu for Capcom and Bayonetta for Sega, but Namco was left with just Pac-Man. Now I'm not saying that every third-party company would need two characters, just look at Ubisoft, but Namco co-developed Smash 4 and they might do the same for future Smash games. If you ask me, Namco deserves a second character. And while there is a Smashified render of Klonoa already, I would say that Lloyd Irving is far more likely to get into a Smash game. I haven't played any of the games yet, but Tales of is a fan-favorite Namco series, especially in Japan. And being the main character of the game that most people started with, Lloyd is the fan-favorite choice for Smash Brothers, which is probably why he got a Mii costume. Now, is he actually the second most iconic Namco character? Yeah, I don't know. Regardless, he is a popular request for Smash Brothers, and I want to see a render of him on Smashified. Third-party support on the Wii U could have been better, but there was some good stuff. A big example being the games that Nintendo themselves worked with third parties on, such as Bayonetta 2, Hyrule Warriors, and Tokyo Mirage Sessions. Now that last game doesn't come up a whole lot in Smash speculation, possibly due to confusion on who owns the IP. From what I understand, Atlus owns all of the Shin Megami Tensei content in this game, but all of the Fire Emblem content and original content, like the new characters, are owned by Nintendo. I don't completely know if that's the case, but either way, this game is part of its own series, and as such, it would need its own series symbol. And even if Nintendo does own the original characters, I don't find it that likely that they'd put one in Smash. But character chances don't affect a render happening on Smashified, so for the number 15 spot, I'm putting the game's main protagonist, Itsuki Aoi. And no, the entry number is not being aged up to 18. Speaking of number 18, I said there that I don't care which design of the many that Impa has that Smashified uses. But here, that's not the case. If Itsuki did make it to Smash, I highly doubt that they would use anything other than his appearance as a Lord in Carnage form. So that's the design I would like to see if Smashified renders this guy. And here's the other retro character to make it onto the list. or classic character if you prefer that terminology. Mike Jones from Star Tropics, a less serious Zelda-like series where you use a yo-yo instead of a sword on a series of island adventures. In the first game. Second game got rid of your yo-yo and sent you time traveling. Well, alright then. Speaking of the second game, that game gave Mike a new design. Jeans and a long-sleeved jacket, as opposed to the short-sleeved shirt and shorts of the first game. I personally have no preference on design. Heck, Smashified could make a new one for all I care. I just want to see a render of this guy. Have yet to play either game, but they look really good, so I'm looking forward to doing so. Mario has some really fun platformers. He has a lot of really fun platformers. But I kind of like the RPGs just a little bit more. Which is why I want to speed up on playing the Mario and Luigi series. Only one I have played is Superstar Saga, and I never beat it. But when it comes to a character from the Mario and Luigi series that's not already in Smash, the most likely pick would probably be Fawful. He's the most recurring antagonist in this sub-series and has developed a fair fan following, thanks in part to his metric smucker-ton of personality. And since I think that the Mario RPGs could use some more representation in Smash, I would like to see Fawful playable as well. Which of course means I also want to see him Smashified. Though I do wonder if they would include the headgear as part of his render. It would be a vital part of his moveset, so probably. But until Fawful gets rendered, and that's if he gets rendered, it's just food for thought. So, since the Mario and Luigi games have a more popular older stepbrother, there may be some people asking, why Fawful and not Paper Mario? Well, I say, why not both? Paper Mario has really been building up in requests over the years. I've played all of the games other than Color Splash, and I guess Paper Jam if that counts. And I really enjoyed all of them. Except for Sticker Star. But all in all, Paper Mario's been in some really good games, and I would love to see him make the cut someday. Just please keep his moveset as moves and partners he used in the first two games. I could accept a thing as his final Smash, but I really don't want a lot of Sticker Star influence in his moveset. But that's talking an actual Smash Brothers game. In terms of a Smashified render, he's only got one outfit to pull from, and I don't think any partners would need to be there for the render to feel complete. No, the challenge that the Smashified crew would have with this guy is that he's made of paper, so he'd be restricted to a 2D plane in the same manner as Mr. Game & Watch. That's a type of character that they haven't covered yet. But let's be honest, they'd hit the nail right on the head with the Ultra Hammer anyway. Lilac from Freedom Planet? What have you done? So after Mega Man got confirmed to be joining a game that already had Pit, people were hoping for Simon Belmont even more so we could have a Captain N reunion. That'd be pretty cool. But once upon a time, I had a better lineup in mind. Take a Castlevania character, put him in a game that already has Mega Man and Sonic in it, and if Banjo and Kazooie get in there as well, then voila! You have the main characters of 4 really popular old-school franchises that are sadly on the decay nowadays, kicking some butt in Smash. And while they're doing that, their spiritual successors would be kicking some butt outside of Smash with their own games. Granted, it doesn't really look like Sonic needs a spiritual successor anymore, but back when he did, a lot of people were labeling Freedom Planet as that successor. So when I saw Lilac did a render on Smashified, I instantly thought, sweet! They should do renders of the other 3 successors too! I highly doubt that any of those successors will ever be playable in a Smash Brothers game, but I would still like to see renders of them all. The first to make it on the list is Miriam. Bloodstained is very clearly the spiritual successor to Castlevania. The Belmont clan DNA is all over the place in Ritual of the Night. The game has yet to be released, but I still want to see a render. And And here's the second spiritual successor to make it to the list, and the only one, or ones, to actually have somewhat of a shot at being in Smash. The new torchbearers for Banjo and Kazooie themselves, Yuka and Laylee. Like Bloodstained, this game isn't out yet, but it's really close at a release date of April this year. For the PS4, Xbox One, and PC at least. Still don't know about the Switch version. Thank God that January 12th is not that far away. As said before, Sonic doesn't really need a spiritual successor anymore, and chances are increasing, albeit slowly, that Mega Man won't be needing one soon anymore either. But Castlevania and Banjo-Kazooie? Yeah, keep dreaming. We're probably not getting much luck there. Which is why so many people, myself included, want to play Yooka-Laylee so bad. And with all of the footage we've seen in the trailers, this game will be legendary. Let's see a Smashified render. We talked about a second Namco character earlier, now let's talk about one for Square Enix. And we've got a few options to pick from, but one choice that I've grown fond of that sadly does not get a lot of love would have to be the hero from Dragon Quest. The player insert style avatar character who has no name. You name him anything you want. A type of character that I used to think would be impossible to be in Smash Bros. Thank you, Fire Emblem. Dragon Quest isn't quite as popular as Final Fantasy, unless we're talking about Japan, but it has been running for just about as long, and it's as big as Final Fantasy if we're talking about number of games. There is a bit of an obstacle with rendering the hero, though. His design. Each Dragon Quest game features a brand new hero with a brand new design. I really like the idea of the hero's palette being some of these alternate designs, but that's way too much work to ask of Smashified. Dragon Quest 7 and 8 did get remakes on the 3DS, and Dragon Quest 11 is coming to the 3DS and the Switch. Smashified could use any of those three designs, but there are plenty of other heroes to choose from. It's up to them, really. I'm cool with whatever they decide to use. Hey, I feel no shame in asking for another Fire Emblem character. Which unit did I pick? Well, thanks to the Avatar fan in me, I'm a fan of elemental powers. So I take notice when an element I like is part of a moveset, but sadly, that has yet to be the case with Wind. Thank Hylia for Vadi, right? Well, yeah, he should have a good amount of wind attacks if he were in Smash Bros. But I don't see a lot of Aeromancy in his boss fights, so sometimes I wonder. Either way, there's no rule against having two Aeromancers, so I'm picking the most notable wind mage from Fire Emblem, Soren. Beyond my obsession with the elements, Soren is actually a really important character in the Radiant games. As its chief tactician and close friend, Soren is to Ike what Robin is to Chrom. Unfortunately, Soren is another case of which design to pick. I think his appearance as a Wind Sage in Radiant Dawn would be the best way to go, but that's my opinion. And honestly, we have yet to see a Fire Emblem character make the cut for Smashified. Soren is my pick. I believe that the Smashified crew has confirmed that any rules or restrictions that apply to joining the roster do not apply to them doing a render. After all, we did get a render of Crash Bandicoot, but Crash had a partner back in the PS1 days that makes only him having a render seem kind of lonely. Here's hoping they give Crash's Purple Dragon buddy back. Now, I hope I don't sound ungrateful, but I'm going to have to be picky about the design again and ask specifically for the classic design. Although, that is the most popular design for Spyro, and it's the same kind of design they gave Crash. So that's probably what they would use anyway. Spyro is just as deserving of the title of PS1 mascot as Crash is, so if Crash has a render, then Spyro should have one too. Well, I never said that all of my favorite Zelda ideas had to be likely. Ravio is one of my favorites because of his charm, and his moveset potential of using all of the items from A Link Between Worlds. And of course a little inspiration from that disappointing Hyrule Warriors moveset, like his default weapon being the hammer. Probably the nice hammer to be specific. I always envision Ravio using the nice items in a moveset. But you know, that's me. They might give him a different hammer in the render, or they might not include the hammer at all. That's really the only part of his design to be concerned about, though. It's not like he has multiple outfits to choose from. This ain't Triforce Heroes. Ravio would be a really fun Zelda character to play as, if you ask me. And I know I'm not the only one who thinks so. His chances are very low, however, so hopefully he can at least get the Smashified treatment. So I mentioned that there would be 3 Zelda characters on this list. We've already covered Impa and Ravio, so now we get to the Smashified Request of Wisdom, Tetra. Wind Waker's signature pirate captain combines Impa's title of a more likely Zelda newcomer with the lower design complications possessed by Ravio. By that I mean she really only has one outfit to go with. The inclusion of a weapon, that's where you'd have to make the choice. And if they use the ever-recurring idea of Hyrule Warriors inspiration, then that weapon would be her cutlass and pistol. Probably the default class of the pirate cutlass. The inclusion of Toon Link is another thing that can kinda be seen as lonely. So far, he's the only cel-shaded Zelda character to be on the roster. Giving him a partner is just one of the reasons why it would be nice to see both a playable Tetra and a Smashified render. Every Smasher must come to a decision when they first start their journey. Fire, water, or wait, where the hell's grass? Well, Pokemon fans certainly took notice of the lack of a grass starter to join Charizard and Greninja, hence why Smashified already did a render of Sceptile. Hey, Trico's final stage would be great and all, but we do have another grass starter now who's probably more likely. Pokemon Sun and Moon's Decidueye. There are a lot of reasons why I want to see Decidueye playable, and by extension get Smashified. Other than the whole grass starter thing, we have a Ghost-type Pokemon, another Archer, and a Gen 7 rep all rolled into one. And if we want that grass starter, then at this point it's either Decidueye or Sceptile. Kanto and Kalos already have a starter on the roster, and Meganium, Torterra, and especially Serperior don't exactly seem feasible. So I talked about spiritual succession to Castlevania back when I talked about Miriam, but there is a bit of a dilemma. Castlevania has never been represented in Smash Bros., and unlike Banjo and Kazooie, it's never been Smashified either. And with the tragic death of Konami that gave rise to Pachinko Nami, Castlevania will probably never be in Smash Bros. We did get Mega Man in Smash when Capcom was going through a major decline, and the Smash Bros. Developers showed the Blue Bomber a lot of love when he made it in. Theoretically, the same could happen to Castlevania, but let's not count our vampires before they resurrect. Fortunately, we still have Smashified, and a hopeful render of Alucard. Alucard's higher prominence throughout the series when compared to someone like Simon Belmont has at the very least caused people to label him as the other likely Castlevania rep. But he's not the only thing coming out of a coffin. I have to drop yet another specific design request. In fact, I'll have to be doing that for the remainder of the list. That design being his most popular and prominent one from Symphony of the Night. Definitely the look I'd like to see over something like Dracula's Curse or Judgment. Well, we had a bit of a gap since last time this came up, but now it's finally time to request a render of the spiritual successor to Mega Man. This guy, right? Ha! No. People knew Mighty No. 9 would bomb, so even before it came out, the search was shifted to someone else to take up the Mega Buster. There are certainly a few options out there, and for reasons a future review on my channel will cover, I tend to side with this one. The main character of Inti Creates' Azure Striker Gunvolt series is a render I have wanted to see ever since I've played his amazing games. As for his design, I sincerely hope that they use the design from Gunvolt 2. It is so much better than his look from Gunvolt 1. But this is a rare occasion where I also have to bring up moveset potential, specifically the possible final smash of Anthem, a move where his spirit partner gives him a power boost. In Gunvolt 2, this spirit partner is always with GV as a little sparkling ball of light. Now, the Smashified people could ultimately decide that this is not important to Gunvolt's moveset, and by extension, decide not to include it in a render. But it would be a pretty nice little detail if they did include it. Alright, before we draw out number 1, here are some honorable mentions. Ray from Custom Robo, a series that could use more love in general. Saki or Issa from Sin and Punishment. Smashified can probably do better than the assist trophy. Takamaru from Mysterious Murasame Castle. Probably the most likely newcomer in the classic character category. Ryu Hayabusa from Ninja Gaiden, because Tecmo Koei helped a lot with Hyrule Warriors. Yu Narutami from Persona 4, arguably the most likely Atlas rep. And finally, Dust from Dust and Elysian Tale. I saw him playable on Indie Game Battle, now I want to see him Smashified. So Alucard made it to number 3, but Simon Belmont is easily the more popular Castlevania request. So for those who may be wondering where Simon is, well, he's right here. Alucard is closer to being a main character of Castlevania, but Simon is the more wanted of the two. So I decided to have them both on the list, with Simon as number 1 because I'd rather play as him. The core design for Simon isn't as clear-cut as Alucard, but if Castlevania Chronicles and Judgment are to be believed, then it seems that the hair color for Simon is red. And since Judgment has some weird designs for the characters, that leaves the look from Castlevania Chronicles as what I want to see Smashified. Plus, it is the design they gave Simon in Dream Mix TV Fighters. You know, that one Smash-like game in Japan that featured characters from Konami, Transformers, and Hudson Soft? Oh god, please don't let Pachinko Nami get Transformers. Simon Belmont would complete the Captain N reunion, and more importantly, he's the character I think I would have the most fun playing as from a series I really want in Smash, making him my most wanted render for Smashified. I am PSB123, and I regret to inform you that I took a bit of damage in the process of making this list. Good thing I've got healing items turned on. Tasty.